The affirmative would like you to believe that California fundamentally needs to alter its gun laws so that people can carry guns at will instead of having to go through the approval of the sheriff's office. We believe that the affirmative has not met the burden that they uphold to demonstrate why that change is necessary. Please go to first argument, where they argue that California waits on mass shootings to pass gun laws, and they extend their argument by arguing that criminals can get guns wherever they want. My first argument is that at best this is an inherency argument that says that the status quo is sort of stuck in the gun laws that we currently have. My second argument is that's just fine. We will concede inherency because we're not interested in changing the status quo. We, the negative, believe that the way we work now with having a shall carry or a may carry state is exactly the way we should do guns. We want our sheriff to approve people carrying concealed weapons, and we do not want there to be an increased number of guns in the status quo. Our second argument, though, is that if guns are so easy to get, there's no reason to change the status quo. The affirmative wants to make it easier for people to access guns in the status quo so more of us can carry them in our cars and on our persons. But their own evidence says that you can get a gun easy already in the status quo. It's not hard to go out and get one. So why force the status quo to change when anybody who wants a gun in California can access a gun? There is no reason to force the status quo, thus no inherency. In the second argument, they argue significance, that good cause is too narrow, and they say that it's an undue burden. My first argument is that the 1AC evidence does not say that it's too narrow. It only defines what a good cause is. So they're not meeting their burden of having an expert prove to you that the good cause burden is too narrow. My second argument is that there is no evidence from the status quo that proves that our laws are making things harmful. There's no evidence that people are dying or that people are being harmed because they can't carry a gun. Not one single person in California has been denied a carried concealed weapons permit and thus been harm done to them. Not one empirical example to justify significance. So they can claim theoretically that good cause is too narrow, but there is no practical example of anyone needing this gun in the status quo. This means there's no significance to this problem. There's no harm happening in the status quo. There are no dead bodies. There is no blood in the street, and there is no reason to justify changing the status quo. Their third argument is that concealed weapons are better and will not increase crime. My first argument is that concealed weapons permits increasing crime is not the issue. Please extend Brandon's evidence that says when more people have guns in the status quo, we have more stolen guns, we have more lost guns, and we have more accidents. Those have nothing to do with crime. We're not claiming that people are going to get these weapons and start robbing liquor stores. Our argument is that the more guns you put into the status quo, the more accidents that happen. The more guns you put into the status quo, the more are stolen and used by criminals to do bad things. Our argument is that we have enough guns in the status quo. The affirmative's own evidence says there are a ton of guns in the status quo. Why on earth would we want to increase the number of these weapons when all they do is harm people? Las Vegas teaches us that more guns is not the solution. More guns just creates a culture that allows this killing to go on and on and on. Our argument is that the affirmative has to prove that there's a significant problem for you to change the status quo. And you do not have a single proof that anyone in California is being harmed right now. Even more, anyone that wants a gun can get a gun, which means it's not inherent. And most importantly, there's no proof that if you let more guns into the status quo, that suddenly life is going to be awesome in California, which means they don't prove solvency as well. I now stand open for cross-ex.
For your second argument, you had said that it is already, if people are already able to obtain guns without a concealed carry permit.
Yeah, I'm using your evidence that you read that said anybody can get a gun that wants one. First card you read in the 2AC, criminals can get guns whenever they want one. Seems to me if criminals can get one, so can law-abiding citizens.
It's true, but it's not the fact of getting a gun, it's the California, the permit holders for concealed carry.
Right, but I don't think whether you have a CCW or not is the issue, right? I mean, your evidence insolvency says that when people have guns to deter crime, that that's a good thing. I don't think Lott really cares whether or not they have a CCW. He just wants more guns in people's hands. Your author, right, Jonathan Lott, he's a big gun advocate. He just thinks more guns in the status quo would be better. Our argument is, there's plenty of guns out there right now. You want a gun? Go buy one. Right? You might have to do it illegally, but apparently, according to your evidence, that's pretty easy.
I didn't say that criminals could, I said people who wanted, well, criminals not to. It's hard for, well, criminals won't be able to acquire, but people with bad intentions could acquire them.
But that's happening in the status quo already. Anybody, like your own evidence says that anybody who wants a gun can get one. Criminals can get guns now. And our argument is, well, if that's the case, then we don't need to change the status quo.
But wouldn't it be better for them to be assigned to people and have proper documentation?
So
To the
our argument is
that
no.
one.
There's no proof that that somehow makes it better. Your solvency evidence is not predicated on the fact that we have people registered and licensed. Your solvency evidence is predicated on people have more guns.
I also said that regardless of legality, that people would acquire guns, and since the beginning of
Right,
this
that's our
nation,
point,
it
which
was-
is why we don't need to change the status quo. Right? It's time. We can have this discussion.